Okay, so there are a few tech reviewers out there that use a lot of smartphones, like a lot of them. Mr. the Boss and ZONEofTECH here are one of the best examples out there, but I really don't. You see, I mostly use 3 or 4 brands of smartphones every single year. So I use Apple, Samsung, Google, and OnePlus, and that's pretty much it. So this means that I use one phone from Apple every year, 2 from Samsung, the latest Galaxy S and the Note series, 1 from Google, the Pixel, and then 1 from OnePlus, which was recently the OnePlus 7 Pro. These are the companies that I use flagships from pretty much every single year, and I do switch my main to whoever has the most recent phone and the best model. And all these 4 companies have advantages and disadvantages. Samsung, for example, has the most amount of features in a smartphone, but Google offers a stock Android experience. They want updates and incredible photo processing with the Google camera. Then OnePlus offers the fastest UI and the lowest price for the specs that they offer, and Apple's, the only one that offers iOS. But you see, out of all these 4 companies, there are only 2 of them from which I've used pretty much every single model of their phones every single year. And those are Apple and also Google. And Google's releasing a massive new update this year with a Pixel 4. So yeah, welcome to our Leaks Rumor series, and here's everything we know so far about Google's top handset for 2019. We've recently launched not just our website, ZONEofTECH.com, but also our store, ZONEofTECH.com/store. Where we're selling not merch, but actual devices such as MacBooks, smartphones, tablets, laptops, camera gear, and more. Devices that we sell are now split into 2 categories, used and like new. And yes, we've had a lot of requests to ship outside the UK, so yes, we're now shipping outside the UK. So if you're from the US, Canada, obviously the UK, and also Europe, you can buy anything using even Apple Pay, and we'll ship anything you get for free. Yes, you don't have to pay for shipping at all. Everything, well, the shipping at least, is free. And we actually build this website using Squarespace, which also happens to be our sponsor for this video. Squarespace allows you to easily build a website by offering many stylish templates to choose from. However, what I really love about Squarespace is that you can also add your own custom code. So you can change that template in any way you want. Squarespace also gives you a domain to host your website on, full mobile support, and things such as the ability to build your own store like we did. And with full 24/7 customer support and very easy to use tools, I genuinely recommend checking out Squarespace using the link below. Okay, so I absolutely love Google phones. I do think that the old Nexus lineup was brilliant when they offer extremely high-end specs for low prices, but unfortunately Google has now killed the Nexus line in favor of their Pixel line, which is their much more expensive and higher end lineup. I bought the first Google Pixel myself back in 2016, and I was impressed by how fluid the UI was, the pure stock Android experience, the day one updates, and that amazing camera. There was only one thing that I didn't really like about this phone at all, and that was obviously the design. This thing looked basically like an iPhone, but without the home button. And on top of this, the home screen also had that navigation bar, the on-screen buttons, which made those bezels even bigger. It was pretty much like a picture frame. Yeah, it was one of the ugliest phones ever released. And same thing for the back. I mean, look at that thing. It didn't really look good at all. And then Google started sending over the rest of the Pixels for me to review, and wow, they've improved so much. The Pixel 2 had a larger 6-inch versus the 5.5-inch display that the original Pixel had. It had much thinner bezels and also a much more modern design. But it was still far behind the competition. Like back in 2017, Apple released the iPhone X and Samsung released the Galaxy S8, both of which looked years ahead of the Pixel 2. However, Google did improve the back a lot by adding that two-tone look. That Panda Pixel 2 XL was actually my favorite smartphone design on the back ever, so yeah, things have definitely started improving. Then in 2018, Google released the Pixel 3 and the 3 XL, which got even more hate in terms of the design than the previous models did. And I mean, when you release a phone with a bigger notch than Apple's, yes, even Apple's, keep in mind that in 2018, smartphone manufacturers started releasing phones with extremely thin notches and bezels. Well, in that case, you can expect, a lot of backlash, especially if you're charging flagship prices for a phone that looks, like a 2016 one. But leaving that massive notch aside, Google has actually made some big improvements to the Pixel 3 XL. So they added wireless charging, the back was made out of frosted glass this time, which was actually the best feeling in the hand that I've ever had from a smartphone. That felt awesome. And the sides looked and felt like ceramic, even though they were not. So the Pixel 3 was an incredibly premium smartphone, and it had all the amazing features that I love so much about Pixel phones, such as the amazing camera, the stock Android UI, day one updates, and overall, it was just a really good phone if you could get over those really bad design choices that Google has made. Okay, so what about this year? Are we finally going to get a completely bezel-less Pixel? Well, Kind of. So there were a few leaks showing a Pixel 4 with a Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus style design with a dual camera cutout on the front, but I don't know, it looked a bit fake to me and not like something that Google would actually do. But then OnLeaks, who's been a very reliable leaker before, made a few renders with website price Baba based on the inside details that he had from his sources on the Pixel 4. And here we could see some very interesting things. So a design that resembles the upcoming iPhone 11 by pretty much everything. We have the exact same squared off camera module on the back on the left hand side with only one module being visible. We have no fingerprint reader on the back at all, and also it seems like the dual tone back is now gone, unfortunately. That was one of my favorite things about Pixel phones. Hopefully Google brings it back. And then aside from the Google logo, the back was quite bare bones. And on the front, we do have a speaker grill, which kind of points towards either a notch or a top bezel, but yeah, other than that, we seem to be getting a full screen display. So yeah, this looks like a big improvement design-wise from the Pixel 3 XL. Now, just 2 days after OnLeaks posted these images, Google themselves tweeted, they tweeted a Pixel 4 render, not even joking. This is Google's, or made by Google's actually in this case, official's account, and they tweeted the official design on the back at least of the Pixel 4. Guess that if you cannot stop the leaks, just, join them, right? Yeah, the Pixel 3 got leaked like crazy last year, and when Google did that video with a community that I was luckily included in, so thank you Google for that, the one with You Thought You Knew, everyone expected or at least thought that the Pixel 3 would turn out to be completely different than in the leaks. But nope, it was literally the exact same thing. So yeah, especially since this is coming directly from Google, this is pretty much how the Pixel 4 would look like from the back. And interesting enough, there are quite a few things that we can see in this leak by Google that were not visible in the OnLeaks leak. For example, it seems that we have dual camera modules on the back rather than a triple one like, pretty much every single smartphone manufacturer in 2019. Yes, but, Google actually had only a single module on their Pixels, the one, the second, and the third, and I have to say, even their digital zoom was incredibly sharp when compared to phones that had a secondary optical physical zoom module. So if there's anyone that can mimic a physical module through software, that is definitely Google. Now, we don't know what the second module would be used for as of yet, but considering that Google already has that super res digital zoom, which like I said before, does actually work really, really well, I do predict this being a wide-angle module. And same as in the OnLeaks leak, there seems to be no more fingerprint reader on the back of the Pixel anymore, which means that it could be either included on the front in the display panel itself, so yeah, similar to how OnePlus and Samsung have done it, or Google could use that top bezel that they're most likely use and add some sort of Face ID-like cameras in order to unlock the phone using your face, just like, Apple does it. So there we go, we actually modeled the Pixel 4's design based on these leaks and how we realistically think that Google would design it. Personally, I don't see Google doing a notch ever again. They got so much backlash with the Pixel 3 XL because of that, so I think that they're trying to avoid that design as much as they can. And I also do not see Google removing their famous dual stereo speakers on the front. And considering that OnLeaks did have that top speaker and it was a fairly large one in his render, very similar to the one on the Pixel 3 XL, I do believe that Google will have a fairly noticeable top bezel in order to accommodate for that. Now, personally, I do think that we would be getting a design on the front similar to what we have made. So with a very noticeable top bezel and almost no bezels on the sides and the bottom. I mean, especially if Google wants to keep that second front-facing camera module, which I'm pretty sure that they will because it was really, really well received on the Pixel 3 XL since it was a wide-angle lens with that, group selfie that was really well received. So, they would have to design that if they keep it into a notch or a cutout, both of which I don't think that Google will do. So realistically, I do see Google having that top thicker bezel. And speaking of the design, we've actually had a recent case leak by /leaks that gives us another look at the Pixel 4's design from the back and the side. So yeah, still no look at it from the front. And here, aside from the volume and the power button, the thing that stood out to me the most was the color. Yes, Google has done colored pixels before, even blue ones, so I wouldn't be surprised if this would actually be one of the colors that the Pixel 4 would come in. And speaking of the colors, a tech website from India called India Shops made some renders on some Pixel 4 details that they have received allegedly from some sources that are working at the Pixel 4 team, and they showed us this minty green color that apparently Google's considering for the Pixel 4. Now, this is the first report that I've seen from this source, so I don't know how legit it is, but I do think that this color at least looks amazing. Probably my favorite Pixel color so far, so yeah, it's definitely Google. If you're watching this video, I think the minty color is even better than the blue one, so please make it. Now, going back to the cameras, XDA developers have found that Google will be adding wide color capture support to the Pixel 4's camera. Now, iPhones have actually been able to capture in the P3 color space since 2016. Yeah, 3 years ago. and the P3 color gamut gives you 25% larger range of colors than the standard sRGB does. And Google has actually announced officially that they would be supporting the P3 color gamut natively in Android, and they told developers how to get their apps ready to display P3 gamut. But of course, that in order to display P3 gamut, you also need, a P3 capable display, and then you also need a photo or a video shot in the P3 color gamut, and the Pixel 4 would be the first Android phone capable of doing that. Now, when it comes to the specs, Pixel phones have never really had any mind-blowing specs like, 12 gigabytes of RAM or even 8 gigabytes of RAM or even 6 gigabytes of RAM. Like Samsung or OnePlus phones have had. And this is what the rumors are talking about when it comes to the Pixel 4. Snapdragon 855 processor, which is great, but considering that Google would be launching the Pixel 4 around October or so, and the next gen 865 processor would be coming out around December or so, the 855 will already be outdated in about 2 months. And then we've also seen 6 gigabytes of RAM being rumored to be the case for the Pixel 4. Which again, 40 gigabytes of RAM on the Pixel 3 did result in the Pixel 3 not being able to keep a lot of apps open in the background, so that wasn't great. And 6 gigabytes of RAM still won't be enough, I would say, even though the Pixel will be running stock Android, but iOS is different than Android. Even if you have a stock Android experience, you need more RAM than on an iOS device, and the Pixel 3 at the moment does not, has the same amount of RAM as an iPhone XS, for example. So I do believe that Google should be adding 8 gigabytes of RAM on the Pixel 4. Let's hope that that's the case, because in that case, it would be on par with OnePlus and Samsung and pretty much everyone else that do high-end flagship smartphones. And I do think that Google would push their Stadia gaming platform to the Pixel 4 in some way or another. So this is a game streaming platform and service that Google has announced, and interesting enough, it will actually be released fully in November 2019. Just a month after the Pixel 4 is also set to be released. So I do expect Google to have some bundles with the Pixel 4, either with some, free games or stuff like that, or maybe even a bundled controller in some Pixel 4 packages, or maybe even a special controller that you put your Pixel 4 in, like the ones we've seen on Amazon. But again, this is just my prediction, and I do see Google doing something similar, something with Stadia with the Pixel 4's release. And speaking of gaming and Google, I really want to see Google bring back AR and VR, like focusing heavily on this, because they had and they still have the Daydream VR, but Google hasn't even updated their website to include support for the Pixel 3, which came out almost a year ago, or the Galaxy S10. So they haven't really been focusing on VR almost at all recently. Now, Google has released the standalone Daydream Mirage Solo VR in partnership with Lenovo, but this was pretty much a failure, so it was really poorly received. The app selection was almost non-existent, the tracking was apparently really bad. The Oculus Quest is basically the successor, so to say, to that. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of the Pixel 4. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think about the Pixel 4? What do I personally want to see the most is a really good design, because that's the one thing that always pushed me away from Pixel phones to Samsung or OnePlus. But yeah, let me know in the comments, what do you guys want to see aside from the design? Better cameras, or even new features such as, Samsung phones have had, like the text dock, that would be awesome. Or improved VR. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, thank you for watching. This was pretty much it for this one. Don't forget about the iPod Touch giveaway, which is still going, and it ends, by the way, on July the 1st. So just be a subscriber of the channel. Actually, you don't have to be, but why not? The rules are just to be a follower on Instagram at ZONEofTECH and leave a comment on this post with the iPod Touch 7th generation render, and yeah, I'll pick a winner on July the 1st. I'll be announcing that on Instagram via DM and story. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'm Daniel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.